So welcome back everybody, my name's Andrew and you're watching the Kelley's Country Life. If this is your first time visiting the channel, thanks so much for stopping by. If you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing. We post weekly videos. So I'm actually smiling and really happy. I just woke up this morning and decided to come out to the shop and check, and lo and behold, our chickens are hatching, or our baby chicks. So I've got a camera set up here. We've already got one that's completely out. It's chirping. I see another one's punching out of another shell right now. We're just going to try to catch some of this on time-lapse mode, and then we're going to set up our brooder and have our first ever chickens here on our piece of property. So this is so cool. Check this out. This is why I want to hatch my own chicks, just to experience the entire process. But there's a baby chick that's just been kind of walking around. I was scared this incubator wasn't going to give him enough room, but they're so tiny. He's been hopping. He hatched all over here, and he's been kind of hopping over eggs back and forth. But check this out. Every time he gets to chirping, which he's doing right now, a little beak starts poking out of this eggshell right here. So, according to what I read online, once the first one hatches and starts chirping like it's doing, it entices the other ones to start hatching themselves out. So check out that little beak popping out of there. So we're gonna let this little miracle of life happen right here while we quickly set up our brooder. I already have everything in place for it. And I'm not gonna lie, this was a scary situation. I had a couple of different issues with this cheap online incubator, and I was scared I was gonna have a 0% success rate. For one, I run out of water twice in this thing, so the humidity was all off, and I could not figure out why. Finally, the other day, I realized there's a crack in the bottom of this incubator pan that holds the water, and it was dripping out the back and going down into my sink. It took me a couple of weeks to discover that, so I've been having to add extra water. I didn't want to disturb the eggs that were already in there, you know, incubated for 2 weeks. So the only thing I need to do is keep adding water instead of taking this all apart and trying to fix it. The other issue that I had, not once but twice, the wheel fell off that actually runs the rotating tray back and forth, because you have to turn eggs throughout the incubation period so they don't stick to the shell. Well, that wheel fell off twice, and the second time I actually got it epoxied or glued on to where that never happened again. So between the humidity getting off and them not getting turned a couple of different times, for how long, I don't know, I was highly concerned I was going to have no hatching. But as it appears, we're at least going to have 2 chicks here, and today is day 21. They say it typically takes 21 days or longer, depending on if your eggs were cooled off before you started incubating them, and mine were cooled down to room temperature. So I'm expecting hatching throughout the day today, maybe into tomorrow or the next day. So the plan is, let's get the brooder up. I have read that you do not want to take your chicks out until they're completely dry. There's a heater in there and a little fan. And the one that is jumping around right now, starting to get a ton of energy. I can see his feathers are damp, but he's slowly drying out. So as soon as these are dry, we'll take them, put them straight down into the brooder. So let's get set up. This is exciting. Tiffany, my wife, is still asleep, but she's gonna enjoy the heck out of this whenever she wakes up and gets to see these chickens hatching. Okay, for starters, again, I'm a brand new newbie at chicks or chickens here. So I watched Stony Ridge Farmer's video. Josh over there, he does a lot of awesome video content for things around his homestead or farm. And he talked about using one of these watering troughs right here, which just so happens I have this same exact one. I've had it for years, so that's an excellent idea to make a little brooder. And I'm going to put the brooder in my air-conditioned shop room because it is summertime here in Florida. My shop temperatures swing so wildly outside. I want a nice consistent temperature for these baby chicks. Actually, I've had a lot of days where my shop's been getting 105, 107 or hotter because we've been going through an extreme heat wave. That is way too hot for these baby chicks. So a nice air conditioning room, and then we'll control the temperature in the brooder with a heat lamp. But the first thing I want to do, I've cleaned the trough out completely, and I'm going to put down some really fine pine shavings in the bottom for them to walk around on, scratch around on, and to absorb any waste. So we're just going to layer the bottom of this trough right here, give them a nice walking surface. So occasionally as I come out here and see that they have spoiled these shavings, I'll just throw an extra layer on top. Eventually, whenever we move these chickens to their outside coop that we already have, I'll use all this right here in my compost pile. It'll be full of chicken manure and everything else. It'll work great for that. All right, next I'm going to take out my chick waterer here that I purchased off of Amazon. I'm going to clean this with soap and water and get it nice and sanitary before I fill it up. This was also a feeder waterer combo right here, and they can be hung a little later on as the chicks grow and get bigger. Also purchased me a Brooder Lamp. So Josh over at Stony Ridge mentioned about putting like a big Irwin clamp, a clamp that goes across here, a woodworking clamp, hanging his feeder from that. And that's actually a really neat idea. Just so happens I have a piece of rebar. It's a perfect length to go across this. It was laying around in the shop. So we're going to try that. Now from everything I've read, you can use a red heat lamp or a white one, doesn't matter. I just kind of like the toned down soft feel of a red. It's just something else that I've seen and heard is a real possibility is chicks, you know, they're babies, they're stumbling around trying to figure life out and how everything works. They can actually fall over and drown in these waterers. Now it's already a pretty small gap, but I've been told if you'll put rocks in here, they can get their beaks in between the rocks and actually do a little drinking, but this keeps their whole head from falling in there should they stumble over in there, and maybe they can rest their head against a rock and get themselves out. So it sounded good in theory. I just washed these rocks. These are some pebbles from around the shop, and I put them in there. So let's try this out as well. And so the other thing I did is I went to my local farm and fertilizer store where they sell seed and everything else, and I picked up a 50-pound bag of chicken starter grower. It's small crumbles, something that small chicks can actually handle. And these are eventually going to be laying hens for us, so we want the eggs off of them. From what I've read online, a lot of people recommend around a 20% protein for laying hens. So there we are. You can see the size of those tiny little crumbles. That should work perfect for these baby chicks. So here we are. Our water bowl filled mostly up. Has a lot of water in it for them. Our little chicken crumbles where they can get around into it in this little feeder. And I'll probably come out at least once a day or once every 2 days and dump this water and clean it out. I definitely want to keep things nice and sanitary. So what I'm going to do now while our baby chicks are still hatching, I'm going to let this heat lamp run for quite a while, and then I'm going to go check the temperature underneath. All right, so it's a little later, it's actually heading into nighttime, and I've had a couple of these chicks that's been hatched all day long, like 12, 16 hours. And I hear that you can let them go 24 hours, but they've been in there rolling around other eggs that are trying to hatch and just kind of jumping all over the place. I think I'm gonna remove them. So the most important thing I've read is you must let them dry first. So they look dry, fluffy. I made for sure that the indoor incubator fan and heat in there really dried them out. The other thing is I have made sure my brooder setup was correct. So it's now running 95.9, 96 degrees just outside the center of the brooder light. So I had a 250 watt lamp that I put in earlier. The brooder got extremely hot, hit 103 degrees quickly and shot on up. That's way too much. You read a lot online of people saying somewhere in the first week for the chicks, you want to keep your brooder at least one spot in there around 100 degrees. And I've talked with a lot of people that raise plenty of chicks, and they say 95 plus is what you're shooting for. So in the dead center of the brooder, I've been hitting and averaging 98 degrees. On the outside edge of the brooder light, I've been averaging around 94 degrees. So that's a good range for them to move back and forth. Now what I'm gonna watch with these chicks overnight and into tomorrow is, are they huddling up to the center of the light, or are they moving to the outside edge? So if they're going to the center, it's telling me, hey, we're cold, we're not staying warm enough, we're trying to get to the hottest spot. If they're going to the outside edge of the light, they're kind of letting me know I need to adjust my light or maybe change my bulbs, and it's too hot. So I've wanted to avoid opening this incubator up too much. That changes the humidity and other factors in there, and I don't want to disturb the other eggs that are hatching, but at the same time, it could take a few days, especially with some inconsistencies that I've had for some of these other eggs to hatch. So the last thing I want to do is leave chicks in there without water or food for 2, 3, 4 days. That's just not going to work. So I'm about to pop this off, grab these 3 that look dry. We're going to put them down in the brooder. This is my first time ever handling chicks like this. All right, these guys look mighty active. Let's do this quickly to not change too much heat in there. Look, they're already trying to jump out. Oh, I don't even know how to handle these little babies. I see you. I got you. I got you. All right. I'm going to quickly look around in here and see if we have any other eggs showing signs of hatching. I for sure see one, but who knows? I don't know with the issues that I've had. All right, so here they are in their home. I'm gonna take this thermometer out and see where they get around this light. And the other important thing that I'm about to do is, when you put them in for the first time, they do not know how to drink. So you're supposed to take their beak, dip it down into the water, and show them where the water is at. And it's gonna be very common for them to kind of congregate up and keep each other warm. All right, so I've dipped their beak in the water. I'll watch them. I'll stay out here for a little while, and if they don't look like they know how to go get the water itself, I'll train them again and show them right where that water's at. All right, so it is next morning, and I just come out to the shop to check on the baby chicks, and I see we have another new member to the family right here. Check this little guy or girl out. Apparently hatched overnight. And I did have a camera running, so hopefully we caught that. I left the camera running all night long. Hasn't been hatched too terribly long, but it's still quite damp. These little ones that I put in here last night, they got plenty of sleep last night. I kept watching them on the camera. They look quite a bit more active today. And I've been taking them over here, dipping their beaks in the water. Although I've yet to see them go back and actually drink, I'm still going to continue to show them where the water is. And I've had them peck at the food right there just a time or two, so they're slowly learning. Now, one thing I have noticed, they've been staying on the edge of this heat lamp. When I first put them in yesterday, they were in the dead center. Then they started working their way to the outside edge. Now they're kind of continuing to stay to the outside edge. So even though that's staying around 95, 96 degrees, they're kind of letting me know that it might be a bit warm for them because they're not wanting to go to the dead center of it. But I'm going to continue to leave this a little warm for a while because I still have new baby chicks that are coming, and they're going to want to run right to the center of this, warm up for a little bit, and then work their way out. And we may adjust this light up later in the week to slowly start dropping the temperature in there. So the good news is we're getting some hatching. The bad news is I'm not seeing any other activity in the incubator. No shells being pecked at or cracked, but we're gonna let this run for about 3 to 4 more days. Today is the true 21st day. I've also read a lot online that if you let your eggs cool down before you start incubating them, which we did. We had a friend collect these for many days and they sat at room temperature, so a cool down. They didn't come straight from underneath the mama that laid them right into an incubator. I've heard that it can take upwards of 24, 25 days. The time is extended. So we're gonna leave this running for several days and I'll update y'all in an upcoming video if we have any more hatch. If not, obviously a couple of these could be roosters, so this isn't the amount of laying hens that we need. So we'll reach back out to our friend and either go get some baby chicks themselves, or we'll try this process again, incubating our own eggs. I'm disappointed that I had a couple of different issues with the incubator, but this is one of those situations of you get what you pay for. But let's not talk too negative just yet. I may have several more hatch out over the next few days, so we'll wait and see. Well, sadly, I didn't get to show my wife's reaction. She has came down with COVID and has been laid up sick for a couple of days, but she did feel good enough yesterday to ease out here and take a peek at these. It was driving her crazy not to be able to see the chicks. So sorry I didn't get to include her in this process. Her reaction is priceless. She loves babies, loves things like this, but on the next video, we will show that off. All right, thank y'all so much for watching. We actually have an outdoor coop security video is what I call it coming up, where we're going to take a lot of y'all suggestions and we're going to do some crazy things to really watch over that coop. So as these chicks raise up in the next few weeks and we start transporting them out there, we can make for sure that nothing gets them in the middle of the night. Thanks for watching.